Let's pay a visit to Mark's True Crime Corner.
This is not a good neighborhood. I'm scared.
Now, here's your host, Mark Thompson.
Well, I'm doing the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case, and I'm doing this because she was released from prison on December 28th. So the last couple of weeks have been filled with interviews and news around Gypsy Rose. And so I'll give some background on it and then where she is today. Gypsy Rose Blanchard was a young girl who was abused by her mother in a Munchausen by proxy case, wherein her mother had fabricated all of these illnesses that Gypsy Rose had. This is, if you're...
just because you mentioned it, Munchausen by proxy, these are imagined illnesses, isn't that it? Or
yes.
Is it imagined or using illness in some way?
It is fabricating or making up an illness to create attention.
I see. Okay.
Gain financial benefits.
So the person who does it is aware that they don't actually have the illness. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And so Munchausen is when you do it for yourself, and then by proxy is when you're doing it for somebody else.
Yeah. Okay.
And so her mother, her name is
Emil Schaffhausen.
No, that's Schopphausen. This is Munchausen. They're different.
Yeah, they're related. But it's actually named after an aristocrat, a German aristocrat.
Oh,
but
look at you with all the information.
So Claudine, this is a picture of Gypsy Rose and Claudine. Claudine D.D. Blanchard. If you go back up one, so she's 24. She meets Ron. He's 17, and Dee Dee gets pregnant, and so they get married. They actually break up before Gypsy Rose is born. Her name is Gypsy Rose because Dee Dee, the mother, liked the name Gypsy, and I believe it's Rod or Ron, the father, he liked Guns N' Roses. So that is how her name became Gypsy Rose. And so the husband leaves, and Gypsy Rose is raised by her mother. Now, Dee Dee is accused at this time of killing her mom. So Dee Dee was the sole caretaker of her mom. She also served as a nursing assistant. So she had some medical background. And it's believed actually that Dee Dee starved her mom to death in 1997. Gypsy is born in 1999. So Gypsy and her mom are living in the Gulf Coast. That's where Dee Dee is from. And hurricane...
I don't mean to ask a follow-up, but starved her mom, like her mom was bedridden and she was... Okay, very good. Go ahead.
Starved her mom.
Okay.
So Gypsy Rose and her mom are living in the Gulf Coast. Hurricane Katrina happens. They go to a shelter for people with special needs, and a doctor there recommends that they move out of state. So they move to Springfield, Missouri. If you go down to the next couple of pictures, Tony, if you're watching. So here's Gypsy Rose and her mom. Gypsy Rose is allegedly getting more sick. So I have a list of illnesses that Dee Dee claims that Gypsy Rose had. But you can see, like, there's 17 of them.
Wow.
I know. And by the way, Gypsy Rose is young. I mean, at this time, I think she's like in her teenage years. But her mother was claiming that she had delayed development. And by that was claiming that she was mentally younger than she actually was. So she was actually lying to Gypsy Rose about her real age and lying about her real age to other people so as to continue to be able to protect her or have control over her.
Was the child in school, or was she in school, Gypsy? What's the child's name? I'm sorry, again?
Gypsy Rose.
That's
a good question. I actually don't know if she was going to school.
Okay, so the mother has this list of illnesses: epilepsy, vision impaired, hearing impaired, gastric reflux, quadriplegia, muscular dystrophy. I'm reading these for people who are listening. Anemia, hyperventilation, not everybody's watching. Asthma, allergies, mild mental retardation, leukemia, incontinence, lung disease, and heart murmur.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
she has as many as you.
So I'm rocking maybe 4. None of them are on that list, though.
So Gypsy Rose is claimed to be a very sick child. And the family is starting to be suspicious. That's actually in part why Dee Dee took the opportunity to move from Louisiana after Hurricane Katrina, because the family was suspicious that Dee Dee was making up these illnesses. Now, if you look at all these pictures that I've collected, in most of them, you'll see Dee Dee is holding Gypsy Rose's hand.
Right.
And this was another way to force sort of force herself on Gypsy and the narrative. So if Gypsy got out of line or said something or started to present herself in a way that she wasn't sick, Dee Dee would squeeze her hand so as to control what Gypsy Rose was doing and saying.
Wow.
So you can see in almost every picture that I could find, she's somehow holding her hand. Exactly.
Wow.
So Gypsy Rose, in 2012, she was 13. She's on an online Christian dating site, and she meets a guy named Nicholas Godejohn. And so they start up an online relationship. This is Nicholas, and that is Gypsy Rose. Gypsy Rose had a fascination with Disney. So in a lot of the pictures, she's dressed as a Disney princess. She also got a lot of things like Ronald McDonald House, Make-A-Wish, Children's Hospital. So they often gifted her trips and other things based on the illnesses that her mom was alleging. There was a doctor at one point who wrote in her medical files that this was Munchausen by proxy. But Dee Dee, Gypsy Rose's mom, had access to all these medical files. And the minute that doctor wrote that, she pulled Gypsy out of that hospital and started to go less frequently to the doctor so as to control that, what was being said by that medical professional. So Gypsy meets Nick. They meet online on a Christian dating site. They have a 2-year relationship, 3-year relationship online. And then Gypsy pays for Nick to come from his house in Wisconsin to their house in Missouri to meet her mom. And she comes up with this whole plan, which is like they're going to go to a screening of Cinderella, which is the next picture. And then Nick is going to accidentally run into her mom. And they're going to meet each other. And the mother is going to start to get used to Nick. At this point, from 2012 to 2015, they've been talking about getting married. They've been talking about having kids.
I'm sorry, how old is the child now? 13?
She's 13.
And they're talking about getting married.
And 14, 15,
They're talking about what they will do in their future when they get old enough.
Exactly.
Okay, go ahead.
And so, and he's a little bit older than her, but they're roughly the same age. He has issues himself. So he's developmentally delayed. He has been arrested before for indecent exposure. He has multiple personality disorder. So he himself comes to the relationship with some challenges.
But they met on a Christian.
But they met on a Christian dating site.
Okay.
Yes. So he goes and meets her mom on March 2015, and then he returns in June 2015. And on June 9th in 2015, Gypsy and her mom are at home. They're doing each other's nails. And the last thing that Gypsy Rose's mom says to her is, "Please don't hurt me." And not very long after, Nick comes to the house because Gypsy has paid for him to come back to the house. He is given rope and duct tape and a knife, which Gypsy had stolen from Walmart. And he proceeds to go into Gypsy's mom's room, Dee Dee's room, and he murders her by stabbing her 17 times in the back. Wow. Gypsy hides in the bathroom. Here's the house. I've heard different stories, or at least reporting on whether or not this house was given to them by Habitat of Humanity, but this is their house in Springfield. Here's some interior shots. If you go back down, there's more interior shots. It's all pink, to describe it a little bit. It's very messy. But it's a nice, pretty white house that's there in the outskirts of Springfield, Missouri. So Nick stabs Dee Dee, as I mentioned, 17 times. He then has he and Gypsy Rose then leave the house. They go to a motel, and they're seen on camera laughing at the motel, and she's seen walking around. Now, that's all captured on film. Now, that is important because at this point, everybody publicly believes that Gypsy Rose is a quadriplegic, that she has muscular dystrophy. So they don't know that she can walk around without a wheelchair. And so they go to the motel. They're there. They decide that they're going to mail back the knife, the weapon. And so they mail that back to Nick's house in Wisconsin. You can see this here. They did not want to be, quote, caught with the weapon. But in fact, that's what ends up getting them caught.
They didn't really
is
think
Nick's
that through.
Parents get the package and open it up, and they're
Right.
confused on what it is.
It's a wild idea, but it just might work.
I don't
know
It's a
about
wild
that.
idea to bag up the knife and then send it back to your house. Yeah, it's a wild idea, all right.
And then on June 14th, I don't know, I asked you about this. There's a shared account between Gypsy Rose and her mom on Facebook, and that account starts posting very lewd and offensive messages about what was done to Gypsy Rose's mom, Dee Dee. And the family starts reacting to this, so do the neighbors, because it's very concerning what's being said on this Facebook page. And that is, in fact, when the police go and they find the body of Dee Dee Blanchard.
So the cops didn't find Dee Dee's body
For 6 days.
Wow.
Or, 5 days.
But almost a week.
Yeah.
So then the trail is pretty easily.
Then it all comes
So
together.
what happened to the boy?
So he is in jail for life. He is serving 2 terms, a life term, and then 25 years.
And what we're seeing here is this is when
These are the booking photos of the 2, when they're arrested.
Oh, wow. So that's her on the right?
Yes, so her mom was shaving her head so she
Wow.
would look like a cancer patient because
Oh
she
my
said she had
God.
leukemia.
So she came from a really awful, abusive
Really
situation.
awful abusive
And now
situation.
she's out of prison having served her time.
So she served 8 of 10 years. She's out of prison. She has met a man and they are married. Yep. This is her
Wow.
husband, Ryan Scott Anderson. He is a special education teacher for middle school students from Louisiana. And he was dared by a friend, sort of, I won't go into
my
many
God.
details, to write to her in prison. She responded. They got married last year in 2022.
Do they seem like they're in love, Courtney, or is this? Did he just do it on a dare?
I mean, it started on a dare.
Oh, you're saying that they fell.
And then over years they
Okay, good.
formed a relationship.
Does he have an issue that we need to know about? Vicky's asking, what's his issue?
Well, I mean, I
We
don't
don't know.
I don't I think I don't know if it's weird, but he's a special education student for middle school kids, and certainly she went through being treated like that for so long. I don't know. It
Maybe
seems,
it ties in. Yeah,
but,
it's just the whole thing is pretty sad.
But no, she's an adult. I mean, granted, if you listen to her speak, she has a very young, very quiet sort of voice, which might be attributed to some of, obviously, the horrific abuse that was perpetrated to her when she was little. But she is an adult, but for much of her life, she thought she was 5 years younger than she actually was.
Just remarkable.
Which is just awful.
Just remarkable.
Yeah. So,
Well, that's the story of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, and another upbeat true crime tale.
well, I mean, unfortunately, I come with,
Well, we know going in that
more
nothing
of the
good's going to
heavy,
happen.
topics. But this is certainly one that's happening right now. There's a lot going on. There's the Lifetime movie. She's written a book that's coming out this month. There's a special on A&E. So there's certainly places where you can find more information about the case.
That's Mark's True Crime Corner for today.
True Crime Corner, only on the Mark Thompson Show.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.